I always thought I knew Mark inside and out. For 3 years, we've shared everything. Our dreams, our daily routines, our secrets. But tonight, as the neon lights of the club flicker in the background and the scent of beer fills the air, I realize there's a side to him I've never seen before. The night was meant to be simple. A few rounds of darts, some laughter, a casual evening with friends. But as Tom's breath brushed against my neck, guiding my stance, something shifted within me. I felt it in the air, thick and electric. Mark's eyes, usually warm and full of love, now flickered with something else. Curiosity, desire, maybe even something darker. When Tom's lips met mine, I braced myself for Mark to step in, to pull us apart, to assert his ownership. But instead, he stood there, silent, watching us. His stillness was deafening, and I was left questioning, what was going through his mind? Why didn't he stop it? The dart game quickly became irrelevant, its rules forgotten. In its place, a new game began, one with uncertain boundaries, where the stakes were nothing less than the fragility of our relationship. I've always been one for the thrill of the unknown. At 25, I've built a life for myself as a graphic designer, but my true passion lies in embracing whatever adventure comes my way. Mark and I have been married for 3 years, a marriage full of surprises, but tonight, I had the distinct feeling that something was different. Mark's glinting eyes, his mischievous smile, spoke of a secret, an adventure just out of sight. He'd invited me to a local club, a familiar spot known for its dart games and lively atmosphere. I'd always enjoyed watching him, Tom, and Alex play. There was something contagious about their energy, their camaraderie. But tonight, Mark insisted I join in. A mix of excitement and nervousness bubbled inside me as I agreed. What could possibly go wrong at a simple game of darts? As we arrived, the club was alive with the buzz of voices and laughter, the clink of glasses, the music pulsing in the background. Mark, Tom, and Alex were already in their element, greeting everyone with the warmth of old friends. They set up for the game, their movements fluid, confident. I stood off to the side, feeling the flutter of excitement in my chest as I watched them. It was strange, standing there as one of the players now. I was about to step into their world. Mark was there by my side, guiding me through the steps. His hands were gentle, his voice soothing as he helped me line up the dart. "Just relax, Jess," he said. "Let your arm do the work." His touch was familiar, comforting, but there was something new in his gaze, a glimmer of anticipation that made my pulse quicken. I threw my dart, not quite a bullseye but close enough to earn a cheer from the guys. Tom, with his usual playful grin, laughed and gave me a thumbs up. "Not bad for a beginner," he said, his voice light but encouraging. As the game wore on, I began to find my rhythm. The competitiveness inside me sparked to life, pushing me to take my next shot with more focus. But then, as I prepared for another throw, I felt Tom's presence behind me. His hands slid onto my shoulders, his breath warm against my neck. "Let me help you with your stance," he murmured, his touch lingering far longer than necessary. A silent tension hung between us, something unspoken yet palpable. His hands, large and firm, pressed against me, adjusting my posture. I could feel the heat of his body as his fingers slid down to my waist, pulling me back against him. My heart raced, and before I could react, his lips were on mine, warm and insistent. I froze, caught off guard, unable to process what was happening. I looked toward Mark, expecting to see anger, jealousy, something. But his gaze was unreadable, his expression still. He didn't intervene. He just watched. It was as though the room faded, and the sounds of the club became distant. In that moment, there was only Mark, Tom, and me. I pulled away from Tom, my heart pounding in my chest, confusion and adrenaline surging through me. Mark's silence was suffocating. I turned to face him, searching his eyes for some sign of what he was thinking, but all I saw was a flicker of interest. Not anger. Not shock. Interest. What did that mean? Why didn't he stop this? The kiss had been brief, but its weight hung in the air, heavy with questions and unspoken desires. I instinctively touched my lips, still tingling from the contact. Tom stood nearby, his eyes locked on mine, searching for a reaction, for permission, something I wasn't sure I could give. Mark finally spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. "Jess, are you okay?" The concern in his voice seemed genuine, but there was an edge to it, something else beneath the surface. I nodded, unable to find my words. overwhelmed by the weight of his gaze, the tension between all three of us. Alex, ever the awkward one, shifted uncomfortably, clearing his throat. "Maybe we should take a break from the game," he suggested, trying to cut through the thick atmosphere. The suggestion hung there, but no one moved. The noise of the club returned, but it felt like we were in a world of our own, trapped in this strange bubble of tension. Tom, sensing the shift in the mood, stepped back, giving me space. "I'm sorry, Jess," he said, his voice sincere. "I didn't mean to. I just got carried away." Mark, however, didn't move to intervene. Instead, he stepped closer to me, his hand gently brushing my arm. The touch was soft, almost comforting. "Keep playing," he said, his voice calm, devoid of anger, of jealousy. There was something else in his eyes, something I couldn't quite understand, but it wasn't anger. It was curiosity. I was bewildered. The dart game, once my focus, now felt insignificant. Mark's lack of reaction was unnerving. Was this some kind of test? Or did Mark have a desire hidden deep inside him that he'd never shared? Tom, emboldened by Mark's silence, took my hand again, guiding me back to the dartboard. I threw the dart, hitting the board, but my mind was elsewhere, caught between two men, Mark, who was watching me with quiet intensity, and Tom, whose presence was warm and full of promise. The atmosphere had shifted completely. The game, the club, the laughter, all of it seemed distant. Mark's eyes were on me, but they weren't the eyes of the man I married. No, these eyes were studying me, probing, as if I was some mystery he was trying to solve. Tom's presence beside me was still there, his touch lingering, but it was Mark's silence that spoke the loudest. What was happening? And why did it feel like everything I thought I knew was slipping through my fingers? Alex sat across from me, his discomfort almost tangible. He wasn't one to shy away from hard conversations, always the voice of reason, the anchor when emotions ran high. But tonight, he was silent, his usual calm replaced with a strained tension that lingered in the air. His eyes avoided mine, and for once, he offered no guidance. Tom leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear, his voice a low, intimate whisper. "Jess, I didn't mean to overstep, but if you want this, if you want more, I'm here." His words ignited something within me, a spark that caught and burned quickly, fueled by equal parts confusion and desire. My pulse quickened, and I wasn't sure if it was from the closeness of his voice or the implications of what he was offering. Mark's hand rested on my arm, his touch firm yet gentle, as though grounding me, or maybe grounding himself. His voice, soft but steady, broke through the haze of emotions. "It's okay, Jess," he murmured, his tone almost encouraging. "We're all friends here, right? We can explore whatever you want." The openness in his words sent a ripple through the room. The atmosphere shifted, charged with unspoken possibilities. Tom's hand brushed mine, his touch growing bolder, and when his lips met mine, it was a kiss unlike any I'd ever experienced. Deep, insistent, unapologetic. I found myself responding, the thrill of the forbidden mingling with the surreal knowledge that Mark wasn't stopping it. He wasn't angry. He was watching, silent and steady, his gaze never leaving me. The world outside seemed to blur and fade. The club's dim lights and pulsing music became a distant backdrop to this moment, this unexpected unfolding of something new. Mark's gaze was intense, almost unreadable, but it wasn't judgmental. If anything, it felt like silent consent, an invitation to step into uncharted territory. Tom's touch deepened, his lips trailing down my neck, leaving a trail of heat that sent shivers through me. My breath hitched, my body responding instinctively. Mark's presence beside me remained steady, his hand still on my arm. What had once been a grounding force now felt like an anchor, tethering me to this moment, to the choice I was making. I glanced at Alex, who stood at the sidelines, his discomfort palpable but his curiosity just as evident. He didn't intervene, didn't speak. His usual calm was gone, replaced by a tension that mirrored my own. Tom's whispers in my ear grew more daring, promises of exploration and boundary pushing. His words were a catalyst, pushing me further into this surreal reality. Mark's silence, his lack of objection, felt like a permission slip I hadn't known I wanted. It was as if he was handing me the keys to unlock something wild and untamed, something I hadn't even known existed within me, or within us. I pulled back slightly, my breath uneven, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Tom's eyes searched mine, questioning but unrelenting. The night, which had spiraled into something I never anticipated, ended as abruptly as it began. I gathered my things, my thoughts a tangled mess, and walked out into the cool night air. The sharp chill was a jarring contrast to the heat of the moment I'd just left behind. Mark didn't stop me. He didn't apologize, nor did he demand one from me. His silence spoke volumes, his calm acceptance leaving me both liberated and unnerved. For the first time, I felt the boundaries of our relationship shift, bending in ways I hadn't thought possible. The kiss with Tom, the way Mark had watched, it all felt like stepping into another world, one where the rules we'd built our marriage on were being rewritten. The city lights blurred as I walked, my thoughts racing. The memory of Mark's gaze haunted me. Was it curiosity? A hidden desire? Or was he testing me, testing us? By the time I reached our apartment, the familiar sight of the door felt alien. It wasn't just a place anymore. It was the threshold to a life I wasn't sure I understood anymore. Inside, the silence was deafening. Mark wasn't home yet, or maybe he was deliberately avoiding me. I sank onto the couch, my fingers brushing against the soft fabric. The texture felt grounding, but it couldn't quiet the storm inside me. My phone buzzed, and I picked it up to see a message from Mark. "Are you okay?" The simplicity of his words belied the weight of what he was asking. My fingers hovered over the screen before I typed back. "I think so. We need to talk, asterisk asterisk." Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, each one heavier than the last. When Mark finally came home, his presence filled the room with an electric tension. He sat beside me, not too close, but close enough that I could feel the heat of his body. He didn't speak, but his silence was heavy with meaning. I looked at him, unsure of what to say, unsure of where to begin. The memory of Tom's touch, Mark's unwavering gaze, and Alex's silent discomfort played on a loop in my mind. What had we done? What did it mean for us? And most of all, where would we go from here?